You've seen it before. A bizarre story with a quirky hook catches fire online and gets picked up by other media outlets. But then, after a little scrutiny, the original story starts to fall apart. That's apparently what happened with this week's Boston.com's Serial Tickler story. News flash, a serial tickler breaking into Boston College students' homes. The story on Boston.com said police knew of at least 10 reports in which Boston College students awoke to find a man watching them and in some cases tickling their feet. It even quoted a Boston police sergeant saying, "This is no myth, it's happening." The story caught fire, getting picked up by Time, the Huffington Post, and beyond. But then, hold the presses. 2 hours later, Boston.com inserted an update saying police knew of only one incident in which a foot was touched and had no reports of tickling. So what happened? Boston Globe digital editor David Skok tells Beat the Press that the story was written by BC journalism students as part of a Globe partnership. Skok says the original story quoted police accurately, but that several unrelated incidents were mistakenly conflated. He called it a good faith misunderstanding. Not to get ticklish about it. So really there's no one entity to blame for this. The Boston Globe looked at it. It obviously had been vetted somewhere down the line because the BC Journalism Project is a real thing. Then they didn't have a spot for it, or I don't know, who knows. They send it over to Boston.com. If it comes from the Boston Globe, Boston.com is thinking, sure, we'll take it. That's the kind of material we have. But, you always wonder where these things originate. And also, that no one had come forward with it before? How come it wasn't in, the BC College newspaper, if that's where it originated? How did it get there?
Yeah, those are all good questions. And, for several years now, even before the Boston Globe and Boston.com were separated the way they are now, students at Boston College, BU, Emerson, Northeastern, where I work, have been producing neighborhood stories for the Boston.com, your town, and your campus sites. And these stories, they're generally quite good, but the onus is really kind of on the students and their instructors to get it right. They do not get the kind of vetting that a story that is going into the Boston Globe would get. And so every so often there's a good faith mistake made, and something like this is the result.
But it's still, I sort of feel like, but it's still the Boston Globe's responsibility. You put it on your site, you put it on Boston.com, and it's your content. So whether or not they're responsible for how it became, the fact that they just did an update and not a correction, I thought was sort of bizarre. Like, that update didn't make any sense.
Well, they wanted to attach it to the original story because they thought every time they click through, if you keep passing the other one along, that's not going to work. So they wanted to have it.
But they could have made it a correction.
Yeah,
should have said correction, because right now it's just like update. The police say that everything you're about to read is false. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. But can I just actually make this point? Can we put up the picture that goes with it? Okay, this to me is equally appalling. Like, what's happening here? Like, this makes it a joke from the start. Because that doesn't feel like a news story.
It's a graphic illustration. It has nothing to do with it.
It's just ridiculous. So that, I thought, that made me laugh so much. And the other thing I'm just going to say, and then I'll let Callie talk, is that I just love that BuzzFeed was the one that exposed this.
Yeah, I know, because they had all the good stuff.
I know, because I'm always sitting at the table while you guys politely try not to roll your eyes and saying that BuzzFeed is a legitimate news organization, and here you go.
Well, I'm with you about the graphic illustration, because I have to say, someone breaking into someone's bedroom at night, it's not funny to me.
Right.
So I don't even care if you have Tickler in there. That just totally creeped me out. These things get passed along as they do. I would say that this, and I take your point about needing a correction, this is what's happening as they transition. David was brought in to overhaul both of these sites, both Boston.com and BostonGlobe.com. So I think there's going to be some pain in this, right back to cleaning up and maybe saying, you know what, you guys can't edit this anymore. Somebody else has to vet this before it gets to this point. And we have to figure out, when we're putting up a graphic illustration, what is the story really about? And really, what are we saying here? So there's all these questions to be answered, and it was kind of crazy story that
they're
just
going to sell Boston.com anyway, so this is just one more reason to get rid of it.
God, you're cynical.
But this reminds me, we've done whole stories here. We've done packages about these things going viral. Remember the one about the LA Police Department buying jetpacks so they could get to the scene of the crime
Yes.
faster. And that one went viral. So this is a long line of things that if it's too improbably to be true, it probably is not true.
It probably is. And by the way, Susie, you haven't heard me diss BuzzFeed.
No, I said politely trying not to roll your eyes.
I don't know. I just think that there are so many stories that seem like they should be improbable, but turn out to be truth stranger than fiction. So I always have to take a moment and pause. So these things make a difference.
Well, I think that the thing that made this story particularly seem credible is the quote from the police officer.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And they're standing by those quotes.
Yeah, and apparently they're standing by the quotes, but apparently the police think that they were misunderstood.
Yeah.
They were talking about something else.
Or misquoted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Confusing.